Alright, you guys, I'm back now to review the third installment of the American Pie movies, and the third one that counts, American Wedding. Now, American Wedding, the plot of this film, it's been a couple years since American Pie 2. Jim and Michelle have been together for quite some time now, and in the beginning of the movie, they get engaged. So this movie is basically about Jim and Michelle trying to plan their wedding. And with Stifler not invited, he decides to crash, and, he makes a deal and stuff. That's basically the plot of the movie. Now, what I think of American Wedding is, it's okay. It's definitely the weakest of the four, in my opinion. I still love it. I still have a great time with it. The jokes are great. The cast is all great. But I do have a couple problems. I have more problems with this one than I do with the first two. So let's get into it. This one's directed by Adam Hers. Or no. Jesse Dillon is the director of this film. Adam Hers is the writer. I have a couple problems with this movie, and I already talked about the cast and everything in the first two movies. They're pretty consistent. So let's get into some of my problems I have with this one. And this is not like a rant video or anything, because I do still love it. I like this film a lot, actually, so it's not going to be a rant. But I think in this one I'm just going to talk about my problems with the movie. They kind of took away some of who Stifler was. Stifler is, I've said this before, is my favorite thing about these movies. My favorite character, and they kind of wussy him up a bit in this movie. He's still the same old Stifler for a while, but then about halfway through, he starts turning into this big softy who's falling in love, and it's not the Stifler that we all know and love, and that's kind of disappointing. And it starts to take like a more of a romantic comedy kind of feel, because the first two aren't romantic comedies. Yeah, sure, there's a little romance thrown in them, but it's a pure, raunchy, teen, R-rated comedy. That's what the first two are. This one is it's half of what the first two were, and the second half is a romantic comedy, and it's just, it didn't necessarily, it still feels like an American Pie film. Jim's still fucking up everything he tries to do. Michelle's, doing her thing. Stifler's, I already mentioned him. Also, another problem I have with this movie, Oz and Heather aren't there. I don't understand why. I know Vicky's not here because her and Kevin were broken up at the end of the first one, but yet they were still managed to stay friends in the second one. But I just find it weird that she's not there for Jim's wedding. I feel like she's a part of the gang, and the gang should be there. Same thing with Oz. Oz is not there. Why? They never explain why. If the actor didn't want to come back and do it, I don't know. I haven't looked at the whole story on this. It's one thing, but at least have one line in the movie explaining where Oz is during all of this. Because, this movie's pretending like Oz never really existed. There's no really mention of Oz at all. The comedy in this movie, the jokes are great. Not as good as the first two, but they're good. My favorite scene in this movie, and if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. It involves the gay bar and a dance-off. And then, of course, the bachelor party. That's right. The bachelor party and the gay bar scene. Two best scenes in the movie, hands down. There's a scene in here where I'm not going to even get into the context of it, but Stifler has to eat shit, literally. That's just not an because in the second movie he told Finch, eat shit. No, in this one, you're eating shit, buddy. That was a little weird. But yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. I enjoy the plot line I have no problem with. The storyline, I have no problem really with the characters other than what I've mentioned. The jokes are great. The soundtrack is not as good. You don't hear a lot of the 90s, alternative rock themes that were kind of a staple of an American Pie film. But that's fine. That's not that big of a deal. It's mostly nitpicky stuff when it comes to my problems in this movie. So, American Wedding, I'm going to give it a solid B. I'm gonna give American Wedding a solid B. I do. I still like it. I don't think it's as good as the first two, um, but I do still like it. It's not. It's probably my least favorite one out of these four because these are the only four that exist, folks. I'm just kidding. Film's all subjective. If you like the direct-to-DVD spin-offs, that's totally cool. It's fine. I'm just saying, for me, these are the only four that exist, and American Wedding is definitely the weakest of those four. But I'm giving it a solid B. So I still think it's a good movie, especially if you watch the first two and you haven't watched this one. I would recommend checking American Wedding out. It continues the storyline. Um, it moves the story along further. You get to see where these characters go after American Pie 2. So, I'd still recommend checking it out. Solid B, not too bad. What do you guys think of American Wedding? Comment down below and let me know. And, yeah. Well, see you later, fuck faces.